Have you ever felt that your life was different from those around you? As a child, did you experience hardships that seemed disproportionate or carry a burden that others didn't seem to share? If you've ever wondered why certain challenges came your way or why you were uniquely sensitive to the pain of others, it's possible that these experiences weren't just coincidental. What if they were signs, divine indicators, that you have been chosen by God for a higher purpose? In this message, we'll explore 5 powerful signs that may reveal God's hand in your life, even from a young age. These signs are not accidents. They are part of His master plan, a plan that has been unfolding since before you were born. God has been shaping you, molding you for something extraordinary. And today, we invite you to look back on those moments of struggle, insight, and calling with a new perspective. Let's dive into these signs and understand the divine purpose behind your journey. 1. The struggles you faced were never random. As you reflect on your childhood, you may recall times of great hardship, times when life seemed more challenging than it appeared for others. Perhaps your home was filled with conflict or emotional tension, or maybe you had to endure personal loss, physical challenges, or emotional wounds that others around you did not experience. You might have questioned why these struggles were your reality, wondering why you had to face such adversity when others seemed to sail through life effortlessly. But what if those struggles weren't random? What if they were part of a larger, divine design? In the Christian faith, we are reminded in the book of Romans that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. Romans chapter 5, 3-4. Each hardship you encountered in childhood was not an obstacle sent to defeat you, but a tool used by God to shape you for a greater purpose. These experiences are akin to the refining process of gold, where raw metal is heated until it melts, allowing the impurities to rise to the surface, where they can be removed. In much the same way, God uses the trials of life to refine us, purging us of weakness and preparing us for the work He has set out for us. Consider the life of Dr. Maya Angelou, one of the most profound writers and civil rights activists of the 20th century. Her childhood was anything but easy. She endured severe poverty, trauma, and neglect. At one point, after suffering a traumatic event, she became mute for several years. Yet, it was during this painful time that she discovered the power of literature and poetry, which eventually became her voice. Dr. Angelou once said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated." Her struggles didn't define her. They refined her. They became the stepping stones that led to her being one of the most influential women of our time, a symbol of strength, resilience, and perseverance. God used her hardships to mold her into the voice that would inspire millions. In the same way, the difficulties you faced in childhood weren't meant to break you, but to build you. God was shaping you for something greater, preparing you to carry a message of hope, resilience, and love into the world. Those moments when you felt most alone, most misunderstood, or most burdened were the very moments that God was using to build strength and perseverance within you. It's important to remember that God never wastes a trial. What may have felt like suffering or hardship at the time is, in fact, part of a divine process. Just as a potter shapes clay with careful hands, God has been molding your heart, your character, and your spirit. The challenges you faced in your youth were not sent to discourage you, but to strengthen you. They were part of His plan, to prepare you for the life He has called you to live. Your resilience and your ability to overcome adversity are not just marks of survival, but signs that you are being prepared for a greater mission. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. How have the struggles of your past shaped who you are today? What lessons did you learn in the midst of difficulty? Perhaps you developed patience, learned to trust in God's timing, or found a deep well of inner strength that you didn't know existed. These are the qualities that God has been nurturing in you, and they are the very qualities that will equip you to fulfill your divine purpose. As you continue on this journey of faith, let the struggles of your past serve as reminders that God has been with you every step of the way, refining you for the work He has prepared for you. Even in your darkest moments, God was present, shaping you into the person you were always meant to be. And now, as you move forward, know that those very challenges are the foundation of your strength, and they will guide you as you walk the path God has set before you. 2. Your dreams had a prophetic quality. As a child, did you ever wake up from a dream so vivid and so real that it felt as though you had glimpsed a deeper truth? Perhaps, in those quiet moments upon waking, you couldn't shake the feeling that your dream was trying to tell you something significant. It wasn't just a random collection of thoughts. It seemed to carry meaning, purpose, and even a sense of destiny. For some, these kinds of dreams might have been dismissed as mere imagination or coincidence. But what if those dreams were more than just fleeting visions? What if they were a channel through which God was speaking to you, guiding you toward the path He had already laid out for your life? Throughout the Bible, we see that dreams have always been an important way in which God communicates with His people. One of the most well-known examples is the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis. As a young boy, Joseph was given dreams that seemed at first meaningless or even absurd to those around him. In one dream, he saw himself and his brothers in a field, and his bundle of grain rose up while theirs bowed down to it. Genesis 37:7. In another, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. Genesis 37:9. These dreams were not merely products of Joseph's imagination. They were prophetic visions that God gave him to reveal his future. They were a glimpse into the extraordinary role he would play in saving nations and ultimately reconciling with his family. At the time, Joseph's brothers ridiculed him for these dreams, and even his father, Jacob, questioned their meaning. Yet, as the years passed, Joseph's dreams came to fruition. His leadership in Egypt during a time of famine would later fulfill the very prophecies he had received in his youth. Joseph's dreams were God's way of preparing him for the great challenges and victories he would experience in his life. Just as God used dreams to reveal Joseph's destiny, He can use dreams to speak to you, even as a child. Dreams, in the Christian tradition, are not just random reflections of our daily lives or subconscious thoughts. They are often divine messages from God, offering guidance, warning, or comfort. The Bible makes it clear that dreams can be a way for God to communicate His will for our lives. In Joel 2:28, God promises, "I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions." This promise suggests that dreams and visions are not just for the chosen few, but for all who are open to receiving them. Think back to your own childhood. Did you ever have dreams that seemed to carry a special significance? Perhaps you dreamed about future events, or maybe your dreams gave you a sense of peace or direction in times of uncertainty. These may have been moments when God was speaking directly to your heart, planting seeds of destiny that would take years to fully understand. For example, consider the life of Martin Luther King Jr., who, as a young man, experienced visions and dreams that would later guide his work in the civil rights movement. Dr. King famously delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech, which echoed the prophetic nature of his earlier visions and dreams. His vision of racial equality and justice was not just a political call to action. It was a divinely inspired vision that God planted in his heart. Dr. King's dream was a reflection of God's larger plan for the world, and it took root in his spirit long before it came to fruition in the public eye. If you've had dreams in your own life that seem to speak to something larger than yourself, it's important to acknowledge them as part of your spiritual journey. God may be revealing your purpose or guiding you toward a calling that you have yet to fully grasp. Don't dismiss these dreams, no matter how strange or impossible they may seem. They may be God's way of preparing you for something far beyond what you can imagine right now. There are also times when God may use dreams to warn us or to help us understand situations we are facing. Just as he spoke to Joseph in a dream to guide him through his future, he may use dreams to help you navigate the challenges of your own life. In the book of Matthew, we see that God warned the wise men through a dream to avoid King Herod when they were traveling to see the baby Jesus. Matthew 2:12. Dreams can act as a source of protection, providing us with insight and guidance in our waking life. If you've had dreams that you feel have a prophetic quality, don't ignore them. Take time to reflect on what God may be saying to you through these dreams. Keep a journal by your bed and write down any dreams or visions you experience. Look for patterns or recurring themes. Ask God to help you understand the meaning of these dreams and how they fit into His plan for your life. In addition, immerse yourself in the Scriptures, where many stories of dreams and visions can be found. By studying how God spoke to His people in the past, you can begin to recognize how He might be speaking to you today. Pray for discernment, asking God to reveal His will through your dreams, and trust that He will provide clarity when the time is right. As you reflect on your own spiritual journey, remember that your dreams may be an essential part of your calling. Just as God used Joseph's dreams to prepare him for greatness, He may be using your dreams to guide you toward your destiny. Embrace these moments as sacred communication from a loving God who desires to lead you into the fullness of His purpose for your life. 3. You are drawn to help others in pain. As a child, did you ever find that hurting animals or troubled children were naturally drawn to you? Maybe you had the unique ability to offer comfort to those in distress, even when you didn't fully understand why. Perhaps there were moments when you intuitively knew how to calm a frightened animal or offer solace to a peer struggling with their emotions. Whether it was a dog trembling from fear or a classmate feeling overwhelmed with sadness, something within you seemed to draw them to you, as though they recognized a deep well of compassion within your heart. This ability to bring peace to chaos, to comfort those in pain, is no accident. It is a divine gift, reflecting the very heart of God Himself. In the Bible, we see many examples of how God uses His people to bring comfort and healing to those who are suffering. One of the most powerful examples is that of Jesus Christ, who, throughout His ministry, demonstrated extraordinary compassion for the hurting and broken. Jesus had an innate understanding of human pain, and He was always present for those in need, whether healing the sick, comforting the grieving, or reaching out to those whom society had cast aside. In Matthew 9:36, we read that when Jesus saw the crowds, He had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Jesus was moved by the pain of others, and he responded with acts of love, care, and healing. This is the kind of compassion that you too might have experienced as a child. The ability to sense the hurt in others and respond with love, even without fully understanding the depth of that pain. If you have ever found yourself offering a gentle hand to someone in distress, comforting them with words or actions, know that you are reflecting God's heart. Just like Jesus, who was the ultimate comforter, your ability to bring peace to chaos and comfort to those in pain is a sign that you are walking in His footsteps. It is not simply a personality trait. It is a divine calling, a gift that God has placed within you to be used for His purposes. Consider the life of Mother Teresa, a woman whose ministry was built entirely around bringing peace and comfort to the most broken, hurting individuals. She spent decades serving the poor, the sick, and the dying, and her very presence was often enough to bring comfort to those who were suffering. In her own words, Mother Teresa once said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." Her compassion was not only a gift, it was also a calling, one that she faithfully embraced, offering comfort and care wherever she went. Like her, you may not always realize the profound impact your presence can have on others, but God has placed a special light within you that draws people in need of peace, healing, and love. You might not be famous like Mother Teresa, but your ability to comfort others is no less significant. It is just as powerful in its own right. Whether it's soothing a crying child, offering a kind word to a distressed friend, or even giving a stray dog the comfort it needs, these acts are reflections of God's love and compassion. The ability to offer peace in moments of turmoil is one of the most profound gifts you can share with the world. So how can you nurture and grow this gift? First, it's important to recognize that this compassion is not something you have created on your own. It is a gift from God. It is a reflection of His love for others, and He has entrusted you with it to use for His kingdom. Begin by praying for wisdom and guidance on how to use your compassion to help those around you. Ask God to show you who needs comfort and how you can be a source of peace for them. Whether through a smile, a listening ear, or a helping hand, God will guide you in using your gifts to meet the needs of those who are suffering. Second, be intentional in seeking opportunities to serve. There are always people around us who are in pain, whether emotionally, physically, or spiritually. Volunteering at a local shelter, offering to help a friend in need, or simply being present for someone who is struggling are all ways you can actively bring comfort to others. Remember that you don't need to have all the answers or be able to fix everything. Sometimes your mere presence is enough. God can use you to bring comfort just by being a vessel of His love and peace. Lastly, keep your heart open to God's leading. There will be times when you feel prompted to offer comfort in ways you didn't expect. Perhaps you'll feel a sudden urge to call a friend who has been going through a hard time, or offer help to someone in need, even if they haven't asked for it. Trust in these nudges, as they are often the Holy Spirit guiding you to fulfill your calling. Just as God uses others to comfort you in times of pain, He will use you to bring comfort to others as well. The ability to help others in pain is a rare and precious gift. It is a reflection of God's own compassion, and it is something that you can grow and cultivate throughout your life. When you recognize this gift and actively seek to use it, you become an instrument of God's peace and healing in the world. Even in the smallest acts of kindness, you are fulfilling a divine calling to bring comfort to the hurting, peace to the chaotic, and love to a world that desperately needs it. 4. You were highly sensitive to truth and hurt by dishonesty. As a child, did you ever feel a deep sense of discomfort or hurt when you witnessed someone lying? It wasn't just about being lied to. It was about seeing dishonesty unfold before you and feeling as though something sacred had been violated. You may have felt an internal anguish when witnessing the smallest lie, or perhaps you struggled to understand why others seemed unfazed by falsehoods. If this resonates with you, then you've experienced something profound, a deep, God-given sensitivity to truth, a sensitivity that reflects God's own heart for honesty, integrity, and righteousness. Throughout Scripture, we see that God cares deeply about truth. In Proverbs 12:22, we are reminded, "The Lord detests lying lips, but He delights in people who are trustworthy." This verse speaks to God's love for truth and His desire for His people to reflect that truth in their lives. From a young age, you may have been particularly attuned to the impact of dishonesty, whether it was a small fib or a larger deception. For many, this sensitivity can feel like a burden, as it often leads to frustration and disillusionment when the truth is ignored or overshadowed. Yet this sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a divine calling, a gift that God has placed in your heart to guide you toward a life of integrity and righteousness. Consider the life of Mahatma Gandhi, a global leader known for his unwavering commitment to truth. Gandhi's insistence on satyagraha, or truth force, was not just a political ideology. It was a spiritual principle that he lived by. Gandhi believed that truth was the highest form of righteousness, and he saw it as his mission to live in accordance with truth, no matter the cost. In his famous words, "Truth never damages a cause that is just." Gandhi's sensitivity to truth and his determination to confront falsehoods played a pivotal role in his leadership of the Indian independence movement. His ability to see truth where others saw compromise led him to become a voice for justice, integrity, and nonviolent resistance. Like Gandhi, your sensitivity to dishonesty is not meant to be a burden, but a blessing. This gift has the potential to guide you in your own mission, to stand as a beacon of truth in a world that often compromises. Whether in your personal relationships, in the workplace, or within your community, God has called you to be a person who upholds truth, even when it is difficult. Your innate response to dishonesty, though it may sometimes cause pain, is a sign that God is preparing you to advocate for truth and justice. From a young age, you may have found yourself uncomfortable when others around you told lies. Perhaps you noticed when someone wasn't being truthful and it disturbed your spirit. This is more than just a heightened sense of morality. It is a spiritual gift, one that aligns with God's desire for His people to walk in truth. This sensitivity to falsehoods, when nurtured, can help you grow into a person who speaks the truth in love, who stands firm in righteousness, and who leads others to live with integrity. In the Bible, we see numerous instances where God calls His people to uphold truth, even when faced with adversity. In Psalm 51:6, David prays, "Surely you desire truth in the inner parts. You teach me wisdom in the inmost place." God desires for us to be people who seek and live by the truth, not just in our actions, but in our hearts. When you feel deeply hurt by dishonesty, it is because God has placed in you a heart that longs for truth and justice. This is not something to be ashamed of. It is a reflection of God's own character in you. Consider the example of Daniel, who was a young man of integrity and truth in the face of immense pressure. In Daniel 6, we read that Daniel was known for his unwavering commitment to truth and his refusal to compromise, even when it meant facing the threat of death in the lion's den. His devotion to God's truth set him apart, and it was his unwavering character that ultimately led to his deliverance. Like Daniel, God has called you to be a person of integrity, someone who stands firm in the truth, even when the world around you tries to silence or distort it. If you have experienced this sensitivity to dishonesty, embrace it as a divine calling. It is not easy to live in a world where lies are commonplace, but God has equipped you to be a voice for truth. He has given you the strength to confront falsehoods with grace and compassion, to stand for what is right, and to speak out when injustice occurs. Your sensitivity to dishonesty can be a powerful force for good, one that guides your decisions and actions and leads you to a life of integrity. As you reflect on this gift, ask God to help you use it wisely. Pray for discernment, that you may know when and how to speak the truth in love. In Ephesians 4:15, we are encouraged to speak the truth in love. And this is the key to using your sensitivity to dishonesty in a way that builds others up and brings glory to God. By embodying truth in both your words and actions, you will be a living testimony of God's righteousness in a world that desperately needs it. God has called you to be a person of truth, and your sensitivity to dishonesty is a sign that He is preparing you for a mission that reflects His values. Don't shy away from this gift, but instead embrace it as part of your divine calling. Whether in your personal life or in the larger world, stand firm in truth, knowing that God delights in those who live with integrity. As you walk in truth, you will not only reflect God's character, but also inspire others to seek the truth in their own lives. 5. People trusted you to get things done. Child, were you often the one others turned to when there was a problem to solve or a task that needed to be done? Whether it was organizing a group project, taking charge during family events, or helping others solve their problems, you may have naturally stepped into leadership roles. You might not have understood it at the time, but these moments were more than just chances to show responsibility. They were signs that God was preparing you for greater tasks, just as He has done with His chosen ones throughout history. From a young age, many people are called to carry responsibilities that are beyond their years. These early opportunities to lead, solve problems, and take responsibility are not coincidences. They are part of God's divine preparation, shaping you for the future He has planned. Just as God called David, a young shepherd, to become the king of Israel, He often uses our childhood experiences to mold us into leaders, ready to take on greater challenges. God knows what lies ahead for each of us, and He uses our experiences to train us for the work He has set aside for us. Think about Nehemiah in the Bible, a man chosen by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah was not a king or a military leader. He was a cupbearer to the Persian king. Yet when he learned of the state of Jerusalem, he was moved with a deep sense of responsibility and sorrow. Despite his position in a foreign land, Nehemiah didn't wait for someone else to take action. He stepped up, made a plan, and took responsibility for rebuilding the walls. Nehemiah 2:5 says, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah where my ancestors are buried, so that I can rebuild it." Nehemiah's leadership was built on a foundation of responsibility, integrity, and trust in God. He knew that God had called him for a higher purpose, and he responded with courage and determination. Just as Nehemiah stepped into a leadership role when the need arose, God has been preparing you in the same way. Perhaps as a child, you were trusted to take on responsibilities that others would shy away from. Maybe your parents relied on you to help care for younger siblings, or your teachers trusted you to lead a class project. These seemingly small acts of responsibility were not random. They were God's way of molding you into someone He could trust with even bigger tasks in the future. In fact, God often uses our early experiences to prepare us for roles of leadership. In Luke 16:10, we are told, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." God sees the way we handle the small responsibilities and knows that if we can be faithful in those, we will be ready for greater things. If you were the one people turned to as a child, the one who could be counted on to get things done and lead others through challenges, it is a sign that God was preparing you for the roles He would call you into later in life. This trust placed in you as a child is not only a reflection of your capabilities, but also a reflection of the trust God has in you. He has equipped you with leadership qualities, problem-solving skills, and the ability to bring order to chaos. Just as Nehemiah did, you are called to step into positions of responsibility, even when they seem daunting or unexpected. God has already equipped you with everything you need, and He will continue to guide you as you take on new responsibilities and challenges. Consider how you responded to these early leadership opportunities. Did you find that you naturally took charge in situations? Did you feel a sense of responsibility for the well-being of others, even as a child? These traits are not random. They are signs of God's calling on your life. He has been molding you into someone who can bring about positive change, lead with integrity, and inspire others to rise to their potential. As you look back on your childhood experiences, remember that every task you were trusted with, every challenge you faced, and every leadership role you took on was God's way of preparing you for the future. He doesn't waste any part of our lives, and He uses even our childhood experiences to equip us for His purposes. Whether you realize it or not, these early lessons in responsibility were laying the foundation for the work God has planned for you. Now, as you continue to grow and step into new roles in life, remember that God is with you, just as He was with Nehemiah. When you are called to lead, to take responsibility, or to step into new challenges, trust that God has already prepared you. He has been working in you from the beginning, shaping you into someone He can trust to carry out His mission. Take a moment to reflect on how God has been preparing you throughout your life. How has He used your past to shape your leadership skills, problem-solving abilities, and sense of responsibility? Trust that whatever God is calling you to now, He has already equipped you for it. Like Nehemiah, you may not have known that your leadership would be needed in the future, but God did. And now, it's time to step into that calling with confidence, knowing that He is leading you every step of the way. Embrace your divine purpose. As we've explored the signs that God has been at work in your life from the very beginning, it's clear that you are not just another face in the crowd. You are chosen. From your early struggles and dreams, to your sensitivity to truth, and the leadership roles you naturally took on, God has been guiding you every step of the way. Each moment, every challenge, and every gift you've received has been a part of His divine plan, shaping you for a purpose greater than you can imagine. Now, it's time to embrace your calling fully. Trust that the path God has set for you is one of significance. Your life is not random, and every experience has been preparing you for the next step. Step forward with courage and faith, knowing that God has equipped you with everything you need to fulfill the purpose He has for your life. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to share your thoughts, Bible verses, or personal reflections in the comments. Together, let's encourage one another to trust in God's plan and walk boldly into the future He has prepared for us. Remember, you are loved, you are chosen, and you are equipped for the journey ahead.